It is football time, boys and girls. 2 games tonight, 3 games tomorrow in the preseason. College football, we are rapidly approaching week 0. We've got Adam Bjorn on the program in, well, I think Australia, and we got Bill Bender from the Sporting News stopping by to break down the Big Ten versus the SEC. We got a lot of football to get to. Welcome to Thursday. It's Pushing the Odds.
It's time! And now, introducing your host, fighting out of Las Vegas, Nevada, by way of Boston, Massachusetts, presenting live from the world-famous Las Vegas Strip, it's Pushing the Odds.
For guys like me, Las Vegas washes away your sins. It's like a morality car wash. Back home, they would have put me in jail for what I'm doing. But out here, they're giving me awards.
Here he is, Matt Perrault.
Enjoy the show. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to Thursday Brigade. We are off and running here for Pushing the Odds with Matt Perrault. It's being brought to you by Betcris Arizona. We will talk to Adam Bjorn about both games tonight in the NFL preseason here in about 15 minutes. Then Bill Bender from the Sporting News coming on talking college football with us because, well, it's football season. Let's get into it. I am in love with social media today because the Eagle fans and the Patriot fans can't stop fighting online on X about what's happening. Depending upon the play, depending upon the mood, depending upon who is on the field, there is all sorts of like propaganda being spewed about the Eagles and the Patriots, and they will play coming up this weekend on Saturday. But it is Jalen Hurts got picked off 3 times yesterday. Jalen Hurts got picked off this morning for a pick 6 for the Patriots defense. Well, you saw Pop Douglas go and expose Cooper DeJean for the Eagles. And then you saw a huge play for Jalen Hurts down the sideline, big touchdown toss. Like it is hyper fun right now. People are just jonesing for actual football. They want actual football to be played, and we're getting close. We're getting close. But for tonight, we got 2 games to break down in the opening line brought to you by Huel. We'll talk about the Raiders and their trip to Houston tonight and the 49ers and their trip to the Chargers. Got 3 games tomorrow as well to get to with Adam Bjorn, and we'll take a look at what's happening in Major League Baseball as well with Adam. Big Ten, SEC. Obviously, big fight, right? We talked about it yesterday. Bill Bender's going to come on talking about the Big Ten, talking about the SEC. Where are we? Plus, well, kind of a weird story came down yesterday. A judge has stated that there are as many as 30 players who are eligible to return to college if they want to right now. The problem is a bunch of those players are currently on NFL rosters, and they could go back to college if they don't want or don't think they're going to make the team. They can go back to a 5th year and play college football. I don't understand it either, but we'll get into it with Bill Bender coming up later on in the program. Team of the day, we've reached the end of the NFL. The LA Rams, the Circa Sports team of the day, LA. They are by far the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl. We haven't seen the team that has been favored to win it all win it most years. We're talking about 2 times in the last 20 years. We've seen the odds-on favorite team going into the year actually hoist the Vince Lombardi trophy at the end of the year. Is that a kiss of death for the Rams? We'll get to that coming up here today on the program. We've got the signature odds, signature edge in Major League Baseball today, bounce back with regen and much more coming up here. We start the program with tonight's games in the NFL. We got 2 of them in the opening line. It is the opening line being brought to you by Huel. I'm not putting up the graphic today. I brought props, okay? I brought my breakfast today, which is what this is. I brought their new trial pack. You guys can order this, and it will come and it will give you an opportunity to actually try out a variety of different flavors at Huel. This is a very popular deal. They have snack packs now. They actually have really tasty protein bars that come in these bundles that you can create. You can get technically all three of these things together from Huel on their website. They have expanded. When we first started with these guys about 8 months ago, Huel was just powder and the ready-to-drink this. It was the powder and this, and that's it. And it was the big bag of powder, the meals, the 400-calorie, 40 grams of protein. Well, now they have diversified, and now they have the individual serving packs. Now they have a variety of different things you can go and order from a bundle perspective by going to Huel.com. And, well, the promo code still works. Huel.com/PTO. What is Huel? Human Fuel. HUEL.com. That QR code takes you right to the website to go and check it out with the 27 essential vitamins and minerals, vegan, gluten-free. These are meal replacements. This is not a protein shake. This is a meal replacement. This is what you have for breakfast, lunch, dinner with Huel. There are some people who are only eating Huel all day long for 3 meals a day. It's all they're eating. You can do that. I mean, I haven't done that yet, but you could do that because of the quality, because of the grams of protein, the fiber, and what you get from the meals with Huel.com. PTO, the promo code saves you 15% off for new customers. Tonight, we got 2 games to get into. The first being the Raiders at the Texans, the second being the 49ers against the Chargers. The numbers, as you would expect from BetChris, are pretty consistent. Okay, this is going to be one for both favorites. The Raiders are surprisingly, in a way, favorites, but I understand why. After what Mendoza did in week 1, I understand why the Raiders are favored. The 49ers being favored, I guess it's because of how poorly they played in week 1, and they think that they're going to bounce back. I don't fully understand the number there with the 49ers. Both totals at BetChris Arizona are at 37.5. The numbers have been as high as 39.5 for both these games. We've seen heavy movement on the under. We'll talk to Adam Bjorn about that. Moneyline prices are somewhat similar. So what are we expecting for tonight? Now, there are some storylines to get into. So let's basically start with what's going to happen for the Raiders and the Texans. We don't know how much the Stars are going to play for all 4 teams, but it is the dress rehearsal week. This is week 2. So we are expecting to see the starters come on out and be a part of this, at least for one series. But the big question for tonight, for me, for Mendoza against the Texans, is how will he build on that performance that he had in week number 1, where everybody was like, my God, this kid looks the part. Number 1 pick. Look what he did. All right. The backups for the Texans are as good as some defenses in the NFL. Like, this is going to be a real showing now for Mendoza. He's going to have to really showcase what he's capable of doing. And so I'm excited just to see what the kid looks like, because Kirk Cousins might play a series. We think he'll play a little bit, but it's going to be a Mendoza game. He's on the road now against a ferocious defense. Even the backups, really difficult test for Mendoza coming up here for tonight. So I want to see what it looks like. I mean, frankly, I am of the opinion, and he is not ready to play in the NFL. I am of the opinion, I mean, frankly, I talked about it all April. I would not have picked him, but the Raiders picked him. And I think Clint Kubiak being the head coach is a gigantic advantage for this kid, because I think they're going to bring him along slowly. And this is Kirk Cousins' team for at least the first month or month and a half of the season. It's going to be Kirk Cousins as the quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders. Now to the nightcap. In the evening game, it is the first time we're going to see Justin Herbert not canoodling with his new fiancée, girlfriend, whatever Madison Beer is, the new wag du jour in the NFL. We're actually going to see Justin Herbert on the field playing in the Mike McDaniel new offense for LA.
it's kind of cut and dry that the Dodgers are going to win it, which is not a guarantee. This is not taxes and death, so to speak. The Dodgers can lose games. We've seen it. They had a long losing streak. So the Dodgers could maybe fall off. You never know. Now, I do expect them to make the playoffs, and I expect them to win the division, and I expect them to win the NLDS, but then anything after that, I think is suspect.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Miami going to the Big Ten is massive. It gives the university, in my opinion, it's a strong university. It's AAU. It's got championship pedigree. And I think it would have a massive recruiting advantage, to be candid, if it were to join the Big Ten. And I think that's making some of the bigger players in that conference a little nervous.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
What Michigan have to play versus Penn State is insane. Like, instead of Big Ten teams worrying about SEC and all that, like, Michigan fans should not be happy about what Matt Campbell gets to walk into. James Franklin's got to be kicking himself. Penn State do not play Oregon, Indiana, or Ohio State. They avoided the entire Big Three of the it's incredible.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
You know, the dark days are ahead for the Warriors. And when Curry and Kerr and Draymond all leave, what are we going to be looking at that franchise that has been a mainstay of the NBA, you know, the face of the NBA and NBA playoffs for so long? Where are they going to be? So I see no issue with them bringing Draymond back. Why not? You have one last go at things with the trio that they still have there. But I see this as a very long season.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Now to the nightcap and the evening game. It is the first time we're going to see Justin Herbert not canoodling with his new fiancée, girlfriend, whatever Madison Beer is, the new wag du jour in the NFL. We're actually going to see Justin Herbert on the field playing in the Mike McDaniel new offense for LA. So one series at least, but let's see what the new offense looks like. Let's see what Justin Herbert looks like in this offense. And then Trey Lance will be playing against his former team tonight, as we have a little bit of a revenge angle with Trey Lance, the backup quarterback, or DJ Uiagalelei, who also has impressed here, basically being a bust at Clemson, but in the NFL, maybe the Mike McDaniel offense fits him better, and both backup quarterbacks having a chance to go up against a 49er team that I don't think gives a flip about the game tonight. Look at all the injuries for the 49ers. I mean, this is just get to the regular season trying to be as healthy as possible, because you have a Christian McCaffrey situation, you have a George Kittle situation, you have a Nick Bosa situation. I mean, you just go down the list. This is the problem for this team. Mike Evans comes over from Tampa. He's dealing with an injury. Like, if you're a Niner fan, you have to be just so frustrated that your players cannot stay healthy and stay on the field, because Kyle Shanahan himself having an awful offseason with the horrific car crash that he suffered. Like, it's just from the top down has been a problem for this franchise. And I don't know, man. I think it's going to be a difficult matchup for the San Francisco 49ers tonight up against the LA Chargers. One, it's a Harbaugh. He cares about the game. Harbaugh, the blowout victory in week 1. I could easily see a blowout victory here in game 2. I like the Chargers and I like the Texans. I'll take both home teams coming up here for tonight. And I think there's an opportunity here with the plus money, with the plus, 1.5 points. I got 1.5 on both. Bet Chris is down to 1. We'll talk to Adam about where the numbers are from a master's perspective. My gut tells me is that the dog's going to be a popular play tonight with the home field in week 2, knowing that next week in week 3 is really the throwaway game. This is the dress rehearsal. This is the get ready for a game, get set, and let's go play. And it's a huge game for the second stringers and third stringers who are trying to make the roster. This is about putting as much on tape as possible. So I think you get maximum effort here tonight. I like the rosters for the Texans and the rosters for the Chargers more, at least right now, because of the injuries for the 49ers. I like LA better. So I'll back both of them coming up here for tonight. let's talk bounce back, because there is one group in a game tonight that really does need to bounce back. Is our bounce back of the day, brought to you by Regen. It's the bounce back of the day, brought to you by Regen. If you guys have not downloaded the app, it's a free opportunity here. Stack your cash. You bet as usual. You're going to save with your sportsbook linked, and Regen never will come between you, the wager, the book, or the balance for that matter, or the money in your savings account for that matter. But they're going to give you a $30 sign-up bonus after your first deposit if you use the QR code on the screen to go and download Regen today. Download it for free. Use it. Save with Regen. So I think when you look at the defense for the Raiders, they need to bounce back tonight. I mean, their secondary and their defense against the Cardinals was bad. They gave up 156 yards rushing in their preseason opener up against the Cardinals. And that was, for whatever reason, the Cardinals decided to run Jeremiah Love, gave him 14 touches, and now he has a high ankle sprain and he's out for the rest of the preseason. That was whatever Mike LaFleur was trying to do with the offense in that game. I'm not really sure, but it was an opportunity for the Cardinals to work heavily on their offense, and the Raiders were just a Swiss cheese here. They're up against an offense tonight that's not good, like flat out not good. And CJ Stroud and company just lost Jaden Higgins for the season with a knee injury. And now you're talking about Nico Collins, who's not going to play much at all if tonight, and a bunch of backups coming in here for the Texans. Tank Dell is coming off a really tough knee injury. So they're going to run the football. This is going to be about David Montgomery for most of the year here for the Texans, but it's going to be about the running game. Don't ask CJ Stroud to do very much. And then when Davis Mills comes in, don't ask Davis Mills to do all that much. So for me, the unit that needs to have the bounce back, the Raiders need their defense to play tonight. And if they don't, the game might go over because the Raiders gave up 20 some odd points to the Cardinals. And while I don't think the Raiders offense scores very much, do they get 10? Do they get 13? The number being 37.5, it's a little bit on the fear factor where a fourth quarter run or two could wind up getting the game to go over if this Raiders defense does not play well in the first half. So with their second and third string guys on the field, Raiders need to step up tonight and bounce back and play well. Will they? I don't know. But right now, that's the bounce back unit. You got to get them to play well tonight and perform tonight for this Raiders defense, this Raiders team. The offense is going to be decent. Brock Bowers, Kirk Cousins, it's going to be decent. You get Ashton Genty, but the defense is a real question. Without Max Crosby's part of this defense as of right now still, but overall the defense is going to be a question. He is in Australia. It is the middle of the night. He's been kind enough to do this. I really appreciate it. I know where in the world he is, but let's get a look behind the counter. Adam Bjorn in the middle of the night in Australia. How are you, my friend? Thank you for coming on. I appreciate you staying up.
Yeah, no worries. More getting up than staying up. Gave up about 5-6 hours ago and thought need to get some sleep. Currently am about 3 hours south of Melbourne in the hometown where I grew up. Spent the week out hunting looking for koalas and kangaroos and everything else. While when I say hunting, my 7-year-old actually had some kangaroo on his dinner plate this week as well. So, and he did eat it all. He did enjoy it. So, kids are experiencing a whole lot of new things this week while I visit a town that I grew up in for the first, 18 years of my life, and then haven't been back for 18 years of my life.
Wow. All right. I tried pigeon for the first time when I was in Barcelona. What does kangaroo taste like?
So it's one that's really easy to kind of explain to Americans because it's venison. It's like that deer kind of red gamey meat. So that's actually, it's one of the few things that actually translates pretty well when having a conversation with an American about eating kangaroo
All right, so we got football on the brain here. We got 2 games tonight, preseason. We got 3 games tomorrow here. Anything of note, or anyone taking a shot tonight? Any Masters getting involved with either game tonight?
Actually, the 5 games, tonight's 2 and tomorrow's, are pretty well balanced, but they have moved a little bit. There was one tomorrow night where Jacksonville had gotten as short as 3.5, and it's back there plus 1.5 now. But on tonight's games, the Raiders holding about 67% of the money, 71% of the master money on there, but it's sort of fluctuated around that one. Similar with San Francisco, actually, pretty well balanced overall, but 72% of the master money is on from San Francisco. And we're seeing about 55-60% of the money is master money, as we sort of spoke about last week, how that balance looks. Surprisingly, totals, not a lot of action on them, haven't really moved too much beyond a point and a half. And then we sort of had, going back to last week, looking at the 2 games that really ran a lot. Titans, I think, was 1.5 to 6, won by 6. But Bengals went from 2 to 7, won by 2. So, last week was a good result for the house on the preseason games. This week they're pretty well balanced. The only one that I really noticed that had run is actually a game on in a few days was the Tampa Bay Bucks against the Chiefs.
Saturday.
That it's literally like 98% of the money's on the Bucks, 100% of the master money on there, and it had ran a few points as well.
Interesting. Yeah, on Friday's games, I mean, you've got Jets, Steelers, Panthers, Jaguars, and Packers, and the Broncos. I mean, 1.5, but the Broncos game's the outlier. Broncos -6 at home. Did you guys open up lower, or did you open up at 6 with Denver being at home and being a pretty big favorite?
It opened at 5. It peaked at 7.5, and it's back down to 6. It's currently about 54% of the money on the Broncos. However, 73% of the master money is on the Broncos. And that looks like it all came in at a range of 5, 5.5, bit of 6, and even -6.5. And then as soon as it hits 7, 7.5, they come back the other way. So that one's got a nice big fat middle against us at 7, should it land on that.
Week 2 is considered to be like the dress rehearsal. Did you see more action this week than next week, or do people kind of wake up and realize football's here and they get involved in week 3?
I think this week, the first week, again, wasn't a lot of idea of who was playing what not. This one, you really start to see, some starters get a bit more time. And then maybe it peaks next week. I don't know where, sometimes they get them in week 2 and then peaks week 3, and then it's sort of the downward turn. But looking at this one, early money across all the games. Like last week when we looked at the charts, there were some games that just had no money at all. But this one seems to be fairly well balanced, where there is, decent money on every game. The ones for tonight and the ones for tomorrow night are definitely got most of it. As we sort of look, and then, they'll tune into Friday's games the next day as well. So these ones really, again, heavy master money compared to what you normally see during the regular season. So you'll get some of that stuff early, but rec money's really not coming on until people really turn on the TV, see who's lining up, and going from there.
Yeah, on the 9th, we're still a couple of weeks away from the start of the season in Seattle. For you as a bettor, do you look at early opportunities, early games, or do you want to watch a bit? Like, did you feel like the market is soft in September and you want to attack, or do you hold off a little bit and wait to see what these teams look like before you get heavily involved, say week 2, week 3?
No, the markets are the softest at the beginning. So if you can really sort of try and gauge or make judgments, and even when this is the time when even the master money can be on 2 different directions, and you have opportunities to sort of balance that on just different opinions. People do different work, have different ratings per se on different stats and things like that. So this is in the first few weeks is really where you want to, take charge and really back your judgment. The first few weeks is really where you're, how much confidence do you have in your own stuff versus seeing what everyone else is doing. But I've also blown bankrolls in the first few weeks, like 15, 20 years ago when I was just doing it the way I did then. So you've got to sort of be mindful that if you're wrong and you're really wrong, you don't want to torch the season in the first few weeks and just have, utter blown your confidence kind of thing. But it is those first few weeks that no one's really got any idea what's going to happen, how these teams match up. They look at previous seasons, they look at, players, coaches, all those kind of things, and put as much information into the numbers that they can. But this is the time that you sort of can find one or two things to really take shots. And this is the time on the futures as well. If you're going to be playing the futures to sort of take some shots early on some of those big prices, there's no point spending on anyone that's sort of less than 10 to 1 in some of these spots early on. This is where you take some shots at some 50, 60, 70 to 1.
All right, our rabbit hole segment today is going to be fun. Let's talk college football, and let's get to our guy, Bill Bender from the Sporting News, joining us here on Pushing the Odds. Bill, good to see you again. How are you? Thanks for the time.
Hey, Matt. Thanks for having me on, man. How are you?
All right, I'm great. Something broke overnight that actually changes my question to start the conversation with you, because I can't really understand what's happening here with the court order that's going to allow NFL players who have left college, who are on NFL rosters, as many as 30 of them, to go back to college to play college football this year. How did this come to be?
Well, I mean, it's partially because of the 5 for 5, right? Like now you want to make those players eligible. I think had college football and the NFL worked somewhat collectively here, made this a one-time thing, like a one-time exception, much like maybe COVID. I hate to bring up COVID, by the way, but had we gone that direction, this would have been more palatable, because now you have this deal where, you saw a player the other day that had a couple sacks in a preseason game, wants to go back to college. And that's hard to square for some of us traditional college and NFL fans. I'm sure it's hard to square for you as well. But I'm hoping the cases are limited, and it doesn't get too tied up in courts, which it might. But this is part of the game and part of the one of the craziest off seasons I think we've had in college football in my time at Sporting News anyway.
There's 3 players for Ole Miss that could be headed back to college. Now, I don't know if they're going to go to Ole Miss, but they're eligible, meaning Are they just open season NIL now? They can go and shop themselves and go to any roster that has an opening? I mean, or do they have to go back to the school they left?
It sounds like portal's open, where you would be able to go to a different school. But, it's complicated, obviously, and moving the players around that way. Now, if they go back to Ole Miss, that bolsters already a roster where we had 4 preseason All-Americans first team selections. Will Eccles, Trinidad Chambliss, Keywan Lacey, Lucas Carnero, and that definitely beefs up that Ole Miss roster if they had a couple more players. Some of this could get tied up in courts, who knows? But that's been the story of the offseason. A lot of district court rulings have been part of the college football experience, unfortunately.
So, Bill, I asked this question yesterday about the Big Ten and the SEC, and really it was the reason why I wanted to talk to you, because if you look at the preseason AP preseason All-America list, 22 of the 27 players listed are from the Big Ten and the SEC. We have 17 of the top 25 teams ranked in the preseason top 25 are from the Big Ten and the SEC. At their conference media days, both commissioners were talking about the breakaway potential for the Big Ten, for the SEC, or a combination of the two for them both to break away. But have we already done that? Have we already seen the Big Ten and the SEC separate itself dramatically from the rest of college football?
With each passing year, sure. I mean, those percentages you're talking about, I mean, the 22 to 27, I didn't know. That's 81.4% of the All-American team, 68% of the AP top 25. And I would venture to guess on most given years, it'll be 75%, at least 70%. 7 out of 12 of the college football playoff will come from the SEC and the Big Ten. And the only thing stopping them from getting that 8 team, which I guess would be 66%, is Notre Dame. Each year Notre Dame gets in the playoff, it takes a spot away from somebody. And whether that's the ACC, they didn't take the spot from the ACC last year. But, they're going to command the playoff. The Big Ten's commanding the national championship race the last 3 years. The SEC has the most playoff contender type teams, in my opinion, especially when you get outside of Georgia, Texas, and you look to like 8 to 13, and you have Texas A&M and Oklahoma and Ole Miss and LSU and then Alabama. It's been a real quiet off season for Alabama in a good way. I mean, I think they're still very much in contention for playoff berths and those kind of things under Kalen DeBoer.
The Big Ten race is going to be interesting. At the moment, obviously, there's a lot of love coming in here for Ohio State. But Oregon's right behind them, Indiana right behind them, and then a little bit of a jump to USC and to Michigan. Let's start with Ohio State and just how good this Buckeye roster might wind up being. Obviously, they have the best wide receiver in college football. They have one of the best quarterbacks in college football, but that defense for the Buckeyes might be the best as well. Where are you on Ohio State?
I mean, it's run like an NFL operation. I'm not saying they could beat an NFL team. I hate that argument. Whenever people get into that, it gets weird. But, you said it. Jeremiah Smith, best player in college football. The quarterback, Julian Sayin, an undersold Heisman finalist from last year. They bring back Bo Jackson. The offensive line should be better. The defense they have a knack for picking up the right transfers at the right time, like James Smith, Allegro, Earl Little. They brought in some guys that are going to play right away for Matt Patricia. And when I say NFL operation, I went to practice what I guess had been the week before, went out to practice. And when you see Matt Patricia on the sideline and Arthur Smith and the back and forth when they're going through team, it's like, yeah, that's kind of like going to the Browns or the Bengals or the Steelers. That's what it feels like when you go to those places. And so the talent's there. They're the safe pick. They're the ultimate safe pick because nobody's going to jump out of their chair if Ohio State goes out and wins the Big Ten and the national championship this year. It's become the expectation.
Where are you on Indiana? Because Hoosier fans, if you talk negatively about their team, they will jump down your throat pretty fast and say, we are the defending champs. I don't care what happened with Mendoza leaving and whatnot, but what is your outlook for Kirk Cignetti's club? Because there's a lot of pressure, and I'll call it pressure, on them to showcase that last year was not a fluke.
Well, I think they did that last year. I was one of the guys, I may have come on your show and said, hey, they're not going to win at Iowa. They're not going to win at Oregon. They're not going to win at Penn State, and they went and won at all those places. I think what I really like about Indiana is the strength of their lines. The offensive line is going to be really good around Carter Smith. Defensive line around Tyreek Tucker, Mario Landino, both linebackers in the middle back. They're really good defensively. That's what really stands out. So I don't think the pressure necessarily resides there. There's some to that, what you're saying. Yeah, they got to prove it all over again. But to me, what's that mean? Like, do they have to go 16-0 again? Does Josh Hoover have to be Mendoza? Do they have to win every game? They have a tough schedule. But as long as Curt Cignetti's there, I think they're going to compete for the Big Ten. I think they're going to compete for the college football playoff. Sporting News has them number 1 in our preseason poll, and it's a little bit of, hey, returning national champion. But I can do Ohio State, Indiana 1 and 2 in any order. And I also really, you Matt, you could sit here and make a case from anybody down through 7 and say, here's my national championship pick, and I'll hear it, all the way down to Miami. After that, it gets a little weird.
Right. In the Big Ten, I know Ohio State's got a ton of talent, and obviously Oregon and Indiana are going to be there. But is there anybody that you're looking at, or anybody that you have heard, whether it be Penn State, with Matt Campbell's first year at Penn State in their schedule, which is going to be really easy, or someone like, I don't know, a USC, as to what they might be able to accomplish this year? Is there anyone that's not of those top 3 teams that you like a lot in the Big Ten?
Well, I think there'll be a lot of discussion around that second tier of USC, Michigan, and Penn State, and there's reasons to like each one of them for different reasons. I suppose Penn State, you mentioned the schedule. I think I haven't gone a hit or a interview or everybody knows about that schedule, right? That they're going to not play Oregon, Indiana, Ohio State. So how do they take advantage of that in year 1 with a lot of Iowa State transfers, including, I like that Rocco Becht has played a lot of football, so that will help Campbell make the transition with I guess it's Iowa State East, trying to spit that out correctly. Michigan, 9-win team last year, may win less games than this year, but may feel better about it because they don't have things going on off the field with Kyle Whittingham. I think they will get more development out of Bryce Underwood. Savion Hyder is he's going to be a player, this freshman running back. But when you have to temper expectations for freshman running backs, right? Like he's part of a tag team with Jordan Marshall. They should be better. USC is the one generating the most buzz, though, around that offense with Jaden Mayava, 2-headed running game. We know they're going to score. If Gary Patterson, who Lincoln Riley says he is, a defensive coordinator, they're probably the one. I think they're going to get to the playoff, maybe. They have to beat one of, who'd we just say? Oregon, Ohio State, and Indiana.
I like USC to make the playoffs as well. I bet that. I like their year. I like what they've got. It's time for Lincoln Riley to finally put this all together and go and make a big splash and a big run with USC. To the SEC we go, and Georgia, Texas, LSU are the 2 front runners, but it's Bama, A&M, Ole Miss, Oklahoma. It feels like
it's kind of cut and dry that the Dodgers are going to win it, which is not a guarantee. This is not taxes and death, so to speak. The Dodgers can lose games. We've seen it. They had a long losing streak. So the Dodgers could maybe fall off. You never know. Now, I do expect them to make the playoffs, and I expect them to win the division, and I expect them to win the NLDS. But then anything after that, I think is suspect.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Miami going to the Big Ten is massive. It gives the university, in my opinion, it's a strong university. It's AAU. It's got championship pedigree. And I think it would have a massive recruiting advantage, to be candid, if it were to join the Big Ten. And I think that's making some of the bigger players in that conference a little nervous.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
What Michigan have to play versus Penn State is insane. Like, instead of Big Ten teams worrying about SEC and all that, like, Michigan fans should not be happy about what Matt Campbell gets to walk into. James Franklin's got to be kicking himself. Penn State do not play Oregon, Indiana, or Ohio State. They avoided the entire Big Three of the it's incredible.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
the dark days are ahead for the Warriors. And when Curry and Kerr and Draymond all leave, what are we going to be looking at that franchise that has been a mainstay of the NBA, the face of the NBA and NBA playoffs for so long? Where are they going to be? So I see no issue with them bringing Draymond back. Why not? You have one last go at things with the trio that they still have there. But I see this as a very long season.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
While we've got sort of that upper echelon of the Big Ten, that the SEC is a bit more convoluted, that we know that Georgia and Texas are going to be, but it feels like it's a bit more wide open in the SEC. Would you agree?
Agree. And agree because, Georgia quietly is a 2-time defending SEC champion with a lot back. Gunnar Stockton, really good defense. Who's catching the football is my big question. It's got to be more than London Humphreys and Lawson Lucky. Texas, awesome roster. Really, really awesome roster with, not just Arch, but the transfers they brought in. Cam Coleman, 2 running backs, Rasheem Biles, and really seeing what they're all about when they play Ohio State in week 2. What jumped out when you put that graphic up was LSU, and I'm wondering how much of that is 575. Is that the Lane Kiffin effect? Is that the 40 transfers? Does that presume that Sam Levitt's going to be that guy? I think that number, I think you're getting more value out of Alabama if you assume that Keelan Russell's that dude, which from the accounts coming out of Tuscaloosa right now, he might just be that guy.
I love that you're pointing this out because I've got people on the ground in Tuscaloosa who have been telling me the exact same thing. And that's why I took Alabama to win the championship at 25-1 because of year 3 in Kellen DeBoer's system. And it is dead quiet. No one is talking about Alabama. No one's expecting much out of Alabama. And this team, if their offensive line can perform, the odds are really good. I mean, Oklahoma's in the same boat at 35-1. Oklahoma in that defense, if their offense stays healthy and they can keep the quarterback upright. I feel like there are some sleeper teams in the SEC. I'm not huge on Texas living up to the hype. Are you?
It's going to be hard to, but I mean, they could, but it's very glamorous. It reminds me of the Cowboys in some ways when Dallas has a really good team or a really good roster and you're like, man, they're going to do it. Now, to me, it really hinges on, you'll get the value, whatever happens with that Ohio State game. If they go out and beat Ohio State, I'll probably be like, okay, they can do this. Keeping in mind that they're 0-5 against Ohio State and Georgia the last 2 years. And those are the heavyweights, right? If you want to play in that weight class, you've got to beat them every once in a while. They can play with them, but can they beat them? I like what you said about Alabama. I think Oklahoma's another interesting team with John Mateer because they were a completely different team when he was healthy last year. And they go up to Ann Arbor in week 2. And I believe, you may have to correct me on this, I think they're a slight underdog in that game. Mm-hmm. They might be. And but if they go up there to Ann Arbor and play well and win in the big house, that always gets you a little bit more attention when you win at a place like that, regardless of where Michigan is at the time.
What do you make of the schedule for Texas? Because on paper, they have the hardest schedule in the country, just given the name. I mean, week 2, you talk about Ohio State in week 2. They got Oklahoma in the Red River. They've got road trips that, places like LSU where you just don't go in there and automatically win. It feels like we're not talking about the schedule enough for Texas just because of the transfers and the talent they've got. They got 4 All-Americans on that roster, but that schedule could be really difficult, could it not?
Oh, I think so. You can't take anything for granted. And that's why, I could see bettors being off of Texas a little bit. I mean, the schedule has everything to do with it. Georgia's is a little lighter. Georgia played 6 ranked teams last year. They play 4 as of now. Now that
changes.
It changes. You know that, right? Like Georgia Tech could be ranked when they play them. Alabama's is a little lighter as well than it has been in recent seasons. Now, Alabama and Georgia, they do collide in October, and what a fun game that will be. But, and I am interested to see how the SEC moves with that 9th conference game. Who loses? How does that impact the standings? Does it impact the college football playoff rush? All of those things are in play.
Bill, let me get out here on this. This is my most unhinged prediction of the preseason. So I am in on Dan Mullins at UNLV, being the group of 5 representative to make the playoffs. Am I nuts?
No, there's not. One of the startling things about the poll itself was that, UNLV, Boise, Navy, nobody had like more than 4 votes. So there is a gem on the week 0 schedule that if you were making that prediction, I know you're going to stay up late and watch. At least I'm going to stay up late, be in Eastern time zone. UNLV Memphis. What a game. I mean, the winner of that game is going to have a huge chip in that race. I think Boise State's going to be good in the Pac-12, which do get your checklist out of who is not and who is in the Pac-12 now. Navy and the American. And then I'm really interested to see North Dakota State make the jump. They were so good for so darn long in the FCS. I'm wondering if they can't do it in the FBS as well.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun storyline to watch if, in the Mountain West Conference with a lot of winnable football games for them on their schedule as to what they're capable of doing in year one. It's going to be wild. Bill, thank you for the time. This is awesome. Let's do it again soon, all right?
Hey, we can do this anytime. Thank you so much for having me on. Take care.
Awesome. That's Bill Bender from the Sporting News joining us here on Pushing the Odds, talking college football with us. Always great to get him on the program. Jumping down the rabbit hole with him, being brought to you by our friends at Rabbit Custom. Share and go after your buddies in the group chat with no limits. You set the term. You call the shots. You download it for free in the Google Play or the Apple Store. Use the code PTO5 to get 5 free Rabbit cash. We will head to bonus time where we got a bunch of stuff going on with our signature edge and other things to give you guys coming up on the program. But if you are watching on SportsGrid on the replay, thank you for being here. For the rest of you guys who are live, bonus time starts now. Yeah, this is, look, one, I love this show today. This show's so fun with Adam and then Bill and getting heavily into football. And we're going to touch on baseball here in just 1 second, but there's just a lot of really fun stuff happening as we get that engine going. Like you can feel, if we were a coal-driven train, you just feel that engine starting to turn and getting hotter and faster, and we start to roll here towards the season. We're still kind of in the starting gate. We're still pulling away from the station. We're not full bore yet, but we're getting there. We're getting close. It's a lot of fun. Let's talk about our signature edge of the day. Signature edge of the day being brought to you by signatureodds.com. They're going to give you a $1 price tag to join them. This is a site that's going to teach you how to become an arbitrage bettor. They're going to break down sports betting. They're going to break down sports betting arbitrage into simple, actionable steps with education, precision, and persistence. This is about math. This is a math problem in which they will show you an interface like this, where they will show you the odds. They'll show you how much you're going to bet and how much you're going to make. This is not really gambling. When they find an opportunity to make money, this is a math equation that you will get into that they will literally walk you through for the first month of your subscription. They will train you and teach you for $1 at signatureodds.com for the signature edge of the day. Time for the Circa Sports team of the day. It is the LA Rams. We were talking about that with our friend, one Mr. Adam Bjorn. The Rams win total is set at 11.5 this season. Again, I would be fading the Rams. I wouldn't be betting on the Rams at the moment. When you see this schedule, plus 450 is ridiculous from a price perspective. Yes, their roster is unbelievable. But are you trusting Ty Simpson? He looked pretty good in his first game. It was a preseason game. But you've got a difficult schedule. That game on the 10th, as Adam said, it's the 11th in Melbourne. It's the 10th for us in America. But that's a long travel to come all the way back. There's 11 days between that game and the game against the Giants on Monday night. So they get a good rest. But that's still a really far trip out there. And who knows, if everyone comes back for the 49ers, they could win that game. You look at the 11.5 and the games they've got at Denver is a difficult matchup against Kansas City, difficult matchup at Seattle, playing the Seahawks. 2 of the last 3 games of the year are against the defending champs. So that's difficult. They've got the Chargers and the Eagles. Again, the Rams are the odds-on favorite for a reason. And the Rams to win it all and for the Rams to play up against the Bengals, that's Adam's projection. You heard him say that. Rams, Bengals. Well, that's the last time that SoFi had the Super Bowl, the first time. This is the second time. Rams won the first time, 23-20. Could the Rams play the Bengals again? Absolutely, 100%. But we need to see how it all plays out over the next couple of weeks and the first couple of months here with all the hype and all the excitement over the Rams. I'm just telling you from a betting perspective, there's no value in the Rams. None. So you could do a trifecta or you can do a projection of Rams over Bengals. If you get really confident and want to get really cocky, you could do that and get some decent prices on that. But the better play is just to wait and see where the number goes during the regular season rather than taking a shot today in August for a Rams team that everyone, I mean, the next closest odds 10-1. That's the Bills at 10-1 at Circa. So you have plus 450 to 10-1. It's a big $5 gap between the two. And I think that's a little bit overblown just because of all the hype, Aaron Donald and whatnot that the Rams have coming up here for this season. Reminder that we've got Circa Survivor, Circa Million, and the live shows coming up next week from Circa. Both those contests are $1,000 to enter. Any money that goes over the guarantee goes right back into the prize pool. The Grandissimo is a $100,000 entry, $4 million prize pool. No rake in any of the contests at Circa. You can play from anywhere with a proxy if you go to circasports.com for full details to understand what's happening for Survivor and Million. But that Survivor number is going to run. It's going to be much higher coming up than that. All right, our rabbit hole segment today is going to be fun. Let's talk college football, and let's get to our guy, Bill Bender from the Sporting News, joining us here on Pushing the Odds. Bill, good to see you again. How are you? Thanks for the time.
Hey, Matt. Thanks for having me on, man. How are you?
All right, I'm great. Something broke overnight that actually changes my question to start the conversation with you because I can't really understand what's happening here with the court order that's going to allow NFL players who have left college, who are on NFL rosters, as many as 30 of them, to go back to college to play college football this year. How did this come to be?
Well, I mean, it's partially because of the 5 for 5, right? Like now you want to make those players eligible. I think had college football and the NFL worked somewhat collectively here, made this a one-time thing, like a one-time exception, much like maybe COVID. I hate to bring up COVID, by the way, but had we gone that direction, this would have been more palatable because now you have this deal where, you saw a player the other day that had a couple sacks in a preseason game, wants to go back to college. And that's hard to square for some of us traditional college and NFL fans. I'm sure it's hard to square for you as well. But I'm hoping the cases are limited, and it doesn't get too tied up in courts, which it might. But this is part of the game and part of the one of the craziest off seasons I think we've had in college football in my time at Sporting News anyway.
There's 3 players for Ole Miss that could be headed back to college. Now, I don't know if they're going to go to Ole Miss, but they're eligible, meaning Are they just open season NIL now? They can go and shop themselves and go to any roster that has an opening? I mean, or do they have to go back to the school they left?
It sounds like portal's open, where you would be able to go to a different school. But, it's complicated, obviously, and moving the players around that way. Now, if they go back to Ole Miss, that bolsters already a roster where we had 4 preseason All-Americans first team selections. Will Eccles, Trinidad Chambliss, Keywan Lacey, Lucas Carnero, and that definitely beefs up that Ole Miss roster if they had a couple more players. Some of this could get tied up in courts, who knows? But that's been the story of the offseason. A lot of district court rulings have been part of the college football experience, unfortunately.
So, Bill, I asked this question yesterday about the Big Ten and the SEC, and really it was the reason why I wanted to talk to you, because if you look at the preseason AP preseason All-America list, 22 of the 27 players listed are from the